Hello, everybody. My name is, again, Kyron Abalisa, and for today's lecture, we'll be covering Unit 3, Regulatory Compliance. So first, we'll talk about the role of the FDA. In this section, we'll describe the roles and responsibilities of the Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA, and we'll describe the organizational structure of the FDA. So, the role of the FDA, as we all know, the FDA is the governing body of the pharmaceutical industry. They pretty much regulate how we manufacture products. They regulate um, the approval of uh, the products. They regulate the approval of the manufacturing of the products. So they pretty much are the governing body and have authority to shut a company down if they're not following the guidance set forth by the FDA. So the Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, was established in 1930. The FDA is part of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. The commissioner is appointed by the president with consent of the Senate. And in fiscal year 2019, it had an operating budget of $5.7 billion, and it regulates approximately $2.6 trillion worth of products annually. So again, the Food and FDA is huge, and they are the governing body for U.S. foods and drugs. So the FDA is ultimately responsible for protecting the public health by ensuring the safety, efficacy, and security of human and veterinary drugs, biological products, and medical devices, and by ensuring the safety of our nation's food supply, cosmetics, products, and products that merit radiation. So again, their role is to protect the population so that they can have products that meets their needs, but not only meeting their needs, that meets that they want to make sure that we have good quality products that will not harm us. So the FDA's responsibility is they have a number of responsibilities. So first, they want to advance public health by helping speed innovations. Second, they want to protect the public health by safeguarding food product and device safety. Third, they want to reduce the burden of regulation on manufacturers. And then finally, they want to ensure the security of food supply. They want to foster development of medical products, and they cooperate with stakeholders for approval. So again, the FDA's responsibility is very, very, very wide scope, but ultimately they do this to protect the public. So FDA governs the U.S. or any products sold or made for the U.S. Then you have the European Union, which regulates European medicines. So you have a mutual recognition agreement, or MRA, and this allows drug inspectors to rely upon information from drug inspections conducted within each other's borders. So let's say I have a product um, that I want to sell in Europe, um, and I need the European body to grant me authority before I can sell. Um, the European Union has authority to review the FDA's inspections, and they can leverage what the FDA has done and kind of grants that company approval because they know the FDA is a very strict body, and they want to make sure that we're meeting the health of the U.S. citizens. So the European Union knows that a particular product was already FDA approved. They may become more lenient for that product. But if a product has not been FDA approved, they might require more stricter regulations around that before they accept the product. So they have that mutual recognition agreement. So FDA Safety and Innovation Act. So under the Food and Drug Administration Safety and Innovation Act, enacted in 2012, the FDA has authority to enter into agreements to recognize drug inspections conducted by foreign regulatory authorities if the FDA determine those authorities are capable of conducting inspections that meet U.S. requirements. So again, if another governing body or if you want to go to another country to sell a product, and um, that product, or let's say the product has been deemed capable of meeting the demand based on their inspection for that particular country, and the FDA sees that, then the FDA can go ahead and grant authority based off that because they know that they meet uh, their requirements and their regulations. So the FDA can go automatically and seamlessly approve that product. So you have the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, which ultimately is the legal authority and scope. Then you go into FDA regulations, U.S. Code, Title 21, Code of Federal Regulations. That pretty much is what is required. It's kind of like almost the Bible for a pharmaceutical company. It tells you how you're supposed to manufacture, how big your rooms are. Pretty much gives you a whole layout of what you need to do to make sure you can manufacture. Then you have FDA guidance documents, why and how to comply. So a combination of all three of these um, regulations, the guidance documents, and the Cosmetic Act kind of gives a company a high, or not a high level, but a good overview on what is needed, what is required, and how to comply to ensure you meet the regulations needed to keep their drug on the market. So this right here is kind of a high-level overview of the FDA reporting structure and the agencies within the FDA. So the FDA reporting structure, of course, you have the president, and then reporting to the president is the Secretary of Health and Human Services, and then you have the FDA commissioner who feeds into the Secretary of Health and Human Services. So that's the reporting structure. And then within the FDA itself, you have different agencies. So you have the Office of Medical Product and Tobacco. So you have CDER, Center for Drug Evaluation and Research, CBER, Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research, CDRH, Center for Devices and Radiological Health, OPQ, Office of Pharmaceutical Quality. And then being from the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality, you have ORA, which is the Office of Regulatory Affairs. So all that makes up our components within the FDA. Now, it's just kind of hard to see, but when you go into Blackboard, you'll be able to put this up. But this is the Department of Health and Human Services, Food and Drug Administration. This is like uh, their hierarchy, so you can see who reports to who and what department goes with what. So you can go into our slides and read more about it. But again, this is just a high-level overview of the reporting structure of the FDA. So now, going from the Office of the Commissioner to the Office of Medical Products and Tobacco, now you have the different regulations under that. So you have CBER, CDER, and then CDRH, and they all uh, report into these particular offices, which again regulate the products and tobacco use within the U.S. So coming out of the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, which is legal authority and scope and compliance with 21 CFR 211, this then gives you current good manufacturing practices, or CGMPs. And CGMPs is what ultimately what the companies go by to ensure that they meet the standards set forth by the FDA. Now we'll go into regulatory compliance. So CGMPs and 21 CFR. So after completing this part, we'll be able to explain current good manufacturing practices and where they are found in the CFRs for pharmaceuticals. So as I said earlier, the Code of Federal Regulations, or CFR, is kind of like your Bible for the pharmaceutical industry. It kind of gives the overview of what to expect when manufacturing, but it goes into details of drugs, electronic signatures, which is a huge thing right now as we're going more digital, using less paper and more electronic. You need to have guidelines around how that's being done. It goes into medical devices, biologics, and human cell tissues and cellular products. So within the Code of Federal Regulations, 21 CFR Part 210 and 211, um, this thing gives a breakdown on of what it covers. So it has your general provisions, your organization of personnel, buildings and facilities, equipment, control of components and drugs, product containers and closures, production and process controls, packages and labeling control, holding and distribution, laboratory controls, records and reports, and then return and salvage drug products. So pretty much everything you need for running a pharmaceutical company, you come here, look it up, and get more information about it in 21 CFR parts 210 and 211. So, what are CGMPs? CGMPs, or current good manufacturing practices, are the current minimum standards to be used for the manufacture, processing, packing, or holding of a medical product to ensure that it meets its required quality characteristics. Failure to comply shall render the product to be considered adulterated or ultimately not good, and the product and persons responsible shall be subject to regulatory action. So if you don't meet CGMPs, that's a big no-no. The product is considered adulterated or contaminated or no good, and the persons responsible can ultimately go to jail. So it's very important to follow CGMPs because if not, it can lead to serious consequences. So current good manufacturing practices, or CGMP, it assures that all pharmaceutical, biological, diagnostic, and medical device products meet all the requirements of the Federal Food and Drug Cosmetic Act as to safety and efficacy, and have the identity and strength to meet the quality and purity characteristics which they purport to have. So again, CGMPs is important. Complying with them ensures safety and efficacy, and if not, your product is deemed to be adulterated.